Welcome to Tea with G. We have a guest, a very amazing woman over here. She's a fitness trainer, Resina.
Hello, hello.
This is, yeah, we've been waiting to get her on for a very long time, years and years and years. No, I'm joking. This worked out actually really organically, and yeah, I'm really happy she's here. So,
It's a
you're a
pleasure.
fitness trainer,
Yes.
but before we get into who you are and stuff like that, this is Tea with G. So I chose some herbs. I chose a tea that we can drink together that reminds me of you, right? So the one I chose today is called Holy Basil. So why Holy Basil and what's the connection? Because you're a fitness trainer, so you're very strong, you're very generous. And should I get into it? She helped me a lot, basically. She's a very generous person. So she's generous, she's strong, and she's awesome. So this is going to give you mental clarity, focus, strength, and all the good stuff that you need. So let's
I'm
crack this open.
excited.
Let's crack this open right here. Holy basil or tulsi. There's like two famous names that. So I'll just pour a little bit for you here. Just the taste.
And then you want to tell us about this style of drinking?
Oh, that's right. The style of drinking. So these are called piala. It's a piala. And it comes from Kazakhstan. So the way they drink in Central Asia are in these to keep the tea hot. So you just pour a little bit and then you keep re-pouring like often. Instead of having a big cup that like
Cools
it sits
down,
there for a while and
Chug
stuff.
the rest.
Exactly. So they love tea so much that they want it hot all the time.
Okay.
So
Cheers.
cheers. Hey, let's do a little cheers like a modern way. There we go.
Yeah. That's good. I like that.
What do you feel? Do you feel some kind of notes or some?
I do taste the basil. It's really nice. Very soothing.
It is from the basil family, so
Feels good. It's like a warm hug.
yeah, this tea is amazing. This is a very good tea for if you're going through a stressful time as well. It's like a good friend,
To ground you.
exactly, and just to get you through a hard time. So, absolutely one of my favorite teas, honestly.
So do you have a time of day for drinking this type of tea that's best, or is it any time, any day? Because I know like chamomile is good for nighttime, right? You don't want to
Yeah.
drink that first thing in the morning if you have to be really productive.
Yeah.
But
Want a little more?
yes.
Yeah, chamomile is great because it relaxes and soothes the nervous system. So you're right, it's good before bed. And it also really helps a lot with stress levels as well. Chamomile is another one of my favorite teas. I gotta say, honestly, like top 10, chamomile and holy basil are probably two of those that are in the top 10 for me.
For relaxation.
Just an overall like tea, herbal
Okay.
teas, yeah.
Nice. That's nice. What a great addition to a podcast.
And I mean, I'm a herbalist, so I studied herbalism online. Nothing too official, but like an online course.
That's
But I
cool.
got
I've
really
never
into
met
it.
anyone who studied that like directly, like personally. That's
Oh,
cool.
yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's the first time for everything.
Yeah. What made you like study that then?
That's a good question. That's a good question. Actually, I was going through a rough time, right? And I was trying to figure like some alternative natural ways of just like coping, right? With a stressful time. So I seen this herbalist course. I actually bought it for Akio, right? But she never took it.
Bought the herbalist course for IKEA.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she just never took it.
Yeah,
Because I think
okay.
the English was like intimidating for her, like the
Right.
language. And it's sitting there for a long time, for like a year or so. And there's one point I'm like, let me just take it. Like, I love natural things. I love alternative health, right? So let me just get this knowledge. So I studied it and I realized with the knowledge that I learned, I was able to apply it to my life and actually help me through a hard time.
Wow.
So I realized the
Through
power of nature.
teas and herbal medicine.
Strictly herbal teas. Yeah.
Okay.
Just understanding the dosages, which teas do what. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Yeah.
What country do they have a lot of those like teas that are from? Is it mostly Asia or?
I would say like the most extensive knowledge on herbs is probably India and Asia, and Europe as well.
Yeah.
As far as what I've learned, yeah, like
That's interesting though. I have a close friend of mine who was, her energy levels, just gut problems, just overall for 5-6 years. She always had this issue and she always went to walk-in clinics. She always went to specialists. She always got off-the-counter prescriptions or pills or this and that. Everyone was either brushed her off or told her like, go to this place or this is nothing or take this pill, nothing. Then 2 years ago, she went to a naturopath for the first time and they did a whole thing on her and she didn't get any pills or anything. It was with her gut. It was with the foods that she was eating and boom, boom, boom. She got her whole analysis thing done and then she's like completely fine now. She's like all these 6 years of going to so many doctors and so many this and that and then it was just such a simple fix done like naturally. And yeah, she's just like, she was so relieved when it happened. But like, I remember she was like so stressed out. She was like, am I just like going crazy? Like everyone's telling me there's nothing wrong with me, this and that. But yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
it is interesting, and I think part of what she learned, or the naturopath told her, was that the diet is so important. What you're eating can affect your stress levels too, because the gut and the brain are connected. So if your gut's sitting unwell, and if it's stressed out, like it sends signals to the brain back and forth. So if you're eating like you have an intolerance or something, and it's just stressing the gut, like gluten or things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also the way that it's made as well. Like when I go to Europe and I can have all the dairy and cheese in the world. When I'm in North America, it's something like flares up with my skin, like the way that I'm feeling. I get like a little bit of a reaction, but yeah, I could have all the cheese in the world when I'm in Europe. It's so much different.
I'm smiling when you say that. The reason is because like I hear a lot more people starting to say this, and I was saying this many years ago because I've got like starting to have some gluten intolerances too. I feel like when I eat some bread and oatmeal and stuff, it's like a bit hard for me to digest. And lactose intolerance as well. Like probably as a teenager or like early 20s, I couldn't drink milk anymore. It just destroyed my stomach. It hurt too much. But I realized like over the past 10 years or so, like if you get a European cheese or when I was in Europe and having milk, it didn't bother me.
Yeah.
So I started to look down. I'm like, what is going on here?
Okay.
And a lot of it is the processing that's done in Canada, the regulations and stuff like that. In Europe, they don't put up with a lot of the things in their law system, right? So they won't allow this process or this ingredient or the way these things are done, you know?
Okay.
So
So
for
it's
example,
it's more so in the processing, not in the way that like, for example, the cows are raised or that kind of thing.
all of it matters.
Yeah.
All of it matters.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I buy the strictly grass-fed milk here.
Yeah.
And the trick with this is like, by law, they can say grass-fed if it's 80% grass-fed and 20% grain-fed. So they can still get away with it. Some grass-fed, I'm like, something's going wrong, right? But one of them I found is strictly 100% grass-fed.
Finished.
And pasture raised and all natural, like for real. And that one, and it's non-homogenized. That's the big thing. So if you look at non-homogenized and also the pasteurization process, pasteurization is when they heat it up, right? But some of them will heat it up to a smaller heat, so they don't kill too much good enzymes and bacteria that we need when we're drinking this milk.
So the one that you buy is just in any grocery store?
No, it's only in Whole Foods.
Oh, Whole Foods.
It's called
okay.
Grassroot Dairies.
Okay, good to know. Good
That
to know.
one-
It's
that
always
one's
hard because all these marketing tactics, like you go to any grocery store, they're like grass fed this, but it's not really grass fed. Or even like same with eggs, like chicken, things like that. They always write all this stuff.
Free
that's
run.
just, exactly.
And then
But
it's like, okay, they ran for like 1 meter and they call it
yeah,
free
I forget
run,
the
right?
specifics of what they can do, but in terms of like marketing, they can really write just about anything that makes you think that it's like
Absolutely.
free run and whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I get my friggin' eggs from the farmer, straight from the farmer, and I see like I
Really?
know what they're feeding them, and
Okay,
I know, yeah,
that's the way to do it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because in the grocery store, even if it's the organic ones, they might be sitting there for like 6 weeks
Yeah.
or something, right? So
Yeah.
everything matters. The more fresh, the more whole, the better. Like that's what I've learned, you know.
The goal is just go to Europe and get a farm yourself and
Honestly, yeah.
get some chickens and grow your cow.
Yeah, you'll have the best quality food, I think. In Europe.
Stress-free cows, yeah.
Yeah, the regulation's good. You're good. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Here, they're always tricking you, right?
I know.
It's like, come on, it's getting stressful to live here. So, you are a fitness trainer, and an amazing one. So, what got you started on this path? When did you start fitness training? And let's actually just like introduce yourself a little bit, you know?
Yeah. So my name is Resina Kim. I came here, immigrated from Korea when I was 2 years old. And what kind of got me into fitness initially isn't what makes me stay in fitness, but essentially first immigrated here and my parents split when I was in kindergarten, and just like moving from home to home and having some less than ideal experiences growing up. Like my mom had a lot of different partners here and there. So nothing was really ever, quote, I personally felt when I was younger that there wasn't a lot of things in my control. And when I was in, I think it was the 6th grade or 7th grade. I think 7th grade was when I first kind of like stepped foot in a gym. Mm-hmm. But I had mostly sat in like the little ab section with the mat, little booty band, no weights, just doing cardio. At that point, I'm sure my form was horrendous. I could find a video somewhere, maybe. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of where I started. And I always went alone. I always went with music, and I always just like me, myself, there, and then out. So it was really how that started, where I just went because it was like my place of like clarity, my place of just like I could just zone out everything. No one's there to whatever. Like I'm just there with myself. Mm-hmm. That's how I started. And then after a couple years, you know, I started creeping into the weight section with really bad form and doing this and that and all this knowledge about like, then I had a phase with nutrition, you know, just eating like bland, rough chicken breast and spinach. I would sit down and have a bowl of spinach because in my childhood, I didn't have a good relationship with food at all. Like my dad, anytime I would visit him, I think it comes from a place of like Korean standards is very much like super, well, at least the old Korean standards even still exist today, but it's very much like very skinny woman, very just like if you were slightly chubby, like that was very judged or like looked against. And I think that's where he came from. So he came from a place of that was his upbringing. And so even when I was like in grade 6, 5, whatever, there was a lot of like I didn't eat as much at all when I was at his house. Like he wouldn't let me eat certain meals here and there. So it was very restrictive, I think, starting out young. So that led me to have binging tendencies when I wasn't with him. So I would, let's say, go to my mom's house, and my mom is like the total opposite. So it kind of makes sense why they got a divorce. But she is like, if she could just feed people and cook for people for the rest of her life, she's the most happiest woman ever. So,
I love that. Well,
and I love my mom's cooking.
Awesome.
She's the best cook for anything, but especially Korean food. So I got to bring it with me and pass it on, because right now I just eat her food. But so my mom would always be like encouraging eating, like, and it was the whole mentality around like, don't leave a grain of rice on your plate, like finish your plate, doesn't matter if you're full. Oh, you're so good, like eat. And like Korean also has a weird mix, because there's those beauty standards that are quite high, but there's also when you are eating and stuff, because it was such a poor country to begin with, food and meat is very highly like thought at. So like even for like Korean game shows these days, the prize is meat. Like imagine if there was an American show like American Idol, and when someone won, they gave them a ribeye steak. They would be like, what?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Whereas in Korea, if you gave someone like a celebrity a pack of meat, they would be like, wow, like, thank you so much. It's an honor. So coming from that mentality, like that's when Koreans greet each other. The first thing they say is 밥 먹었어, which means did you eat? So I was eating so much at my mom's house when I was a kid growing up, and then basically like sometimes being very, very hungry, like starving at my dad's house, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then so that was like my relationship with food. Then when I was more independent at the gym myself and kind of consuming different nutrition content, which there's so much out there, too much out there. I went through the whole broccoli and chicken phase where bland chicken breast, I would sit down and just eat spinach so much. But it was reflected in like how I felt. My energy levels weren't good. I was very stressed. I had like very, very bad acne. Hormones were all over the place, and it was just a cycle. Then I would never stop eating candy at nighttime, truly.
Oh, yeah,
it was the Sour Patch Kids, like sour rings. Like I would always have a pack there. It was just like, eat it.
That's a bad habit for sure, yeah.
Yeah, and croissants.
Oh yeah,
those
a lot
are
of fat in there.
Another one. Like nighttime snacking, I would eat until I sleep, basically. Then after that whole phase, I got more and more into training, more and more into like learning about this and that, and I ended up being really passionate about it. It was always something that I did regardless of what was going on in my life. I actually went in like university for like biology, or like I was in sciences and stuff, but I was always like working out was always there. It was never actually planned for me post-secondary to become a coach and whatnot. It was always just gym is gym, and then I'm doing my own, like pursuing my own careers, this and that. And so I was pre-med in the sense where I was ready to take MCAT, do the whole thing. But that was always like the safe route. And so after I finished my degree, I was like, let me just take a gap semester. Because I always hear that. I always hear people saying like, oh, gap semester, I traveled, this and that. So it's like, it was something that was so foreign to me in my decision making, where I was like, the way that I always decision made before that was always like the safe route, the route that I should do regardless of what I feel or whatnot. It was just like for other people, for my dad, for whatever. But then I took it and I didn't tell my dad. I don't even know if he still knows to this day.
Oh,
but I
the
did
wool
take
over his
it.
eyes there.
It was more like, let me do it and then ask for forgiveness later, because I know I will be successful. And then when he sees that, it's more like a forgiving thing. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah, makes sense.
So that's when that was like the best decision of my life. It was the most like, at the time, it doesn't seem risky, but at the time it was risky for me. And, I ended up actually in like tech sales and marketing. So I had remote jobs in that area, like in tech and whatnot. That's when I was able to do more traveling. That's when I was able to go more into my fitness. That's when I was really into it and I got my personal certification. Then I was more into like nutrition for mostly myself as well. And then that's when I got certified more formally in that area. And then part-time, I did also work at little box gyms here in the like fitness world as a trainer there. And then I just really loved it. And like I was at a 9-to-5 still, but also doing like the fitness thing on the side. And then
What was the 9-to-5, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, it was in tech sales. So
I
was a tech sales. And then I was like working with different startups to create like sales teams for them. So outbound sales was what it was. So like setters, creating different outbound sequences for them. So very like 2 different buckets. Like, so I had the science bucket, tech bucket, and then fitness bucket that was all separated. But now it's all came together somehow. So basically, long story short, I'll shorten it up, after that, I got to the point where I did like my first bodybuilding competition. And then once that finished, I decided like, this is something that I keep going back to. So like I would have meetings throughout the day during my 9-to-5, and I was good at it and I enjoyed it. But I always, if I had a client call for the few clients I had at the time, or if I had a whatever, like a fitness video shoot or whatever, like I would always lean to prioritizing that over my 9-to-5. And it got to the point where I was building up a clientele where I was like, why don't I just like go all into this? Because I got to the point where I was too split thin. I had feet in all of the different buckets, and I was trying to do everything all at once, and I was like, this is just too much. This is I wasn't giving, right? I was expecting certain type of like rewards from the training side, from the tech side, but I wasn't giving it my all, right? So I was like, what if I gave it my all? Because right now it's not working, giving it 10% here, 10% here, 10% here.
Absolutely. Yeah,
and I realized, like, especially when my bodybuilding show ended, because prep takes up so much of your time. It takes up over 4 or 5 hours a day. You're at a very, very low body fat percentage, so your energy levels are super limited. And so once that finished, and I was able to go back to healthy eating and this and that, I realized, like, oh, like, this whole thing was lifted, and now I have so much time for this. So I'd used that same mentality to then let go of my tech job. So I left my 9 to 5, and I poured all into my online fitness coaching, like, business. So there was a mix of that, and then the in-person stuff, and that's kind of how I kept growing and growing in there. And then my tech background and my bio background really actually went hand in hand, and anything that really worked in my favor was when I just let things flow rather than forcing something or doing it for somebody else, like pleasing somebody else for, like, my biology degree, for this, that. It never worked. There was so many points in my life where I was just so stressed out, so just mentally stagnant and unhappy and very, very unfulfilled. Kind of like we talked about with my 2018. That was probably my hardest year, and then COVID, of course, during that year, that was also really, really bad. But that was when I was like, man, I'm not doing something right. I'm absolutely not doing something right. There's a lot of pain that I'm holding with family, with this and that, that's affecting my decision making in every area of my life. So now I'm all in with my coaching, and I love it. And it's not easy by no means, because you're really just building your own business, and you're but it's just like the fact that I get to do what I actually love doing, and, like, I want to put in all hours of every day without feeling drained, and you have creative space, is what I'm, like, so eternally grateful for. So
I love that.
That's the journey.
how long have you like, when did you start going all in to your fitness training?
All in a year ago.
Okay.
Yes.
And
so before that, it was part-time working as a trainer, or it was just on the side alongside another job, basically.
So it's the first year you're a year in.
Pretty much 1 year, yeah.
What are the biggest challenges that you faced this year so far?
I would say biggest one would be earlier this year. I actually was doing more of I was pigeonholing myself into doing fully online coaching because I think that came from a place of, like, remote work and traveling and this and that. And I almost lost my passion for what it feels like to be there in person, to be there one-on-one, and kind of, like, refocus my passion and where I can take this. So the person aspect of that. And so that was probably one of my biggest hurdles earlier this year. And then I kind of, like, switched that up, where I'm really focusing on pouring into both of those buckets. Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I want to ask you a couple just, like, questions that are related to your fitness and stuff like that. So fat loss is a huge goal for many women, right? What's the most effective way to lose fat while maintaining muscle?
Okay, maintaining or building?
Let's say building.
Okay, building is, so if you want to lose fat and build muscle simultaneously, then you do a combination. There are a lot of different ways that you can do it, but one of the more effective ways to get that done, and that's not a crazy fad diet that's just going to give you summer abs and then disappear, something more sustainable, is a combination of doing strength training, where you're lifting weights and you're working out in terms of muscle building, so hypertrophy training. You want to have a rep range for your exercises that range from 8 reps all the way to 30. That's a good range for muscle growth specifically. When you're entering, if you see like those power lifters, for example, you'll never see them doing 15 reps in a competition. No way. They do 1 rep maxes, right? So some people, like let's say newer lifters, they might for fun test like their 1 rep maxes and stuff. But if their goals are actually to build on muscle, aside from the fact that short can be fun, it's not actually necessary or effective. So the range of 8 to 30 reps in terms of your strength training, in terms of your muscle building for all muscle groups. In terms of fat loss, that comes from a large combination, like 75% nutrition, and the last like 25% the strength training and cardio. So the nutrition comes down from, very simply put, calories in, calories out. If someone wanted to only lose weight, just focus on calories. Just have less than what your maintenance is, and you will inevitably drop weight if you're doing it properly. It does mean sauces included, snacks, this, that, whatever. It's just calories. Very simple. Now, it's different when it comes to, hey, I want to lose fat and build muscle at the same time, is then it comes down to your macronutrients and your calorie goal. So the calorie goal being either your maintenance calories, so maybe that's 1,500. It depends on where you're currently at and whatnot. You want to be slightly lower than your maintenance calories. And in addition to that, you want to be strength training, and you want to be hitting a high, first of all, prioritizing your high protein content. So the average is like 0.8 to 1.2 times your body weight. But why do we want to sit there and calculate that? So let's make it simple. It's just 1 times your body weight. Okay. So if I was, for example, 140 pounds, I should be aiming to have 140 grams of protein per day. Another easy way to put it, if you're just starting out, is just to have 20 grams of pretty much 20 grams of protein per meal is a good aim. So lastly, I will say carbs, not to be afraid of that. A lot of people try to cut out all carbs when they're starting out, or they want to lose weight, or they're completely, which if it is for the purpose of like sensitivities or this and that, that's a little bit of a different story. But if it's in the sense of, hey, I want to cut out carbs completely because, you know, I want to lose weight and that's the way to do it, you need carbs because you need to, especially when you're strength training. When you strength train, you take glycogen stores from your muscles, and that's fueled by carbs. So if you don't have carbs, you end up depleted. And the reason why people who are fluffy, who then go carnivore diet, which is good, I like carnivore diet as well. However, in terms of sustainability and using that because you thought you looked tighter, is because your muscles hold water weight. When you do a carnivore diet, you deplete it. And so it's not actually you losing fat, it's your muscles that are shrink down in terms of volume. So you look thinner maybe, but it's actually the shrinking of that. So you want to have enough carbs right before you work out. Let's say 20 minutes before you work out, you want to have quick, easy carbs, rice cracker, banana, whatever. So that's your pre-workout. And then during your workout, you know, it doesn't really matter. You do your workout. And then after, you want to have like high protein and carbs. The timing is a myth, but ideally, you don't want to starve yourself after a workout. You want to feed yourself generally within the 1 to 2 hours of working out. Yeah.
You know what? You have so much knowledge. That's crazy. This working out is not as simple as just going to the gym and just working out, right? There's so much science behind it. And you have, you study biology, right?
Yes.
So that's actually incredible that you are in the gym. You understand like the physical aspects, but you also understand the scientific part of it, I guess, as well, right? To some degree. And it can help you, I guess, on your fitness journey.
Of course. Yeah.
I'm just listening to all that information. I'm like, wow, this is getting very scientific. But
yeah, there's so many layers that you can go under. And even from what I said is like such basics. Like it's very like, hey, bare bones. You can go into so much more level of depth and customization per person, and it really varies totally. But on the other side of that, it's like, hey, there's all that stuff to get the best results possible. And if you're ambitious and you're like, I want X result, this is what I want to look like, then hey, as a coach, it's like, this is what you can do to meet that goal either as fast as you want or as slow as you want. And there's no right or wrong for that, genuinely, because a coach's job is not to tell you what to do. It's to hear what you want in your life as a goal, same with a life coach, like same with any career coach. It's like they're not here to be like, unless you're a specific industry, but someone will come to a coach and say, hey, I want to, let's say, look like this. It's a vanity goal maybe. Or maybe it's truly like, I just feel like I don't want any more joint pain, or I'm recovering from an accident, or whatever that goal is. And as a coach, you want to be knowledgeable in a lot of areas to then guide them to help them meet it the fastest. Some people might not want to do the whole bulk cut thing, right? So the bulk, like, hey, for 3 months, eat a bunch, grow a bunch of muscle, then cut and look shredded. That's a very fast way to meet your goals. But also some people don't want to do that. So you can really just spread that into a longer time span. And instead you want to just be able to eat a little bit above maintenance, do like a clean bulk and also strength train like that. It'll take slightly longer, but that's just the reality of how you can kind of squeeze things in. And at the end of the day, if you're going from never being active to just stepping into the gym, kudos to you. I think that's amazing. And I think anyone can start, because I started the first 2-3 years in the ab room doing God knows what, but I was there and now I'm here. So it's really just, hey, start. It doesn't have to look pretty. It doesn't have to be crazy. You don't have to have the crazy gym outfit. You can go in jeans and people will not judge you. Just do your thing. And yeah, I think that's the best way to start, honestly.
You know what? I love that you said that, because that can apply to so many different things in life, right? Just the fact that you just take a step, or like Nike says, just do it, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, get those dirty reps in.
Exactly.
And that's the difference between the people who, I guess, get something started and the people who don't, right? If you sit there and just procrastinate too much and try to get it perfect, you might never start. You might be 50, 60 years old and say, I wish I would have done that thing. So in your opinion,
exactly
like what you just said, I guess you also would advise people to just...
Of course. And like it all goes back to, just because I know what can get someone closer to their goal doesn't mean that's the right way to do it for everyone.
True. That's true.
And I think that that's what it comes down to, is like, if someone sits there, the only time that I could feel a slight bit of frustration is if someone really wants a certain goal for whatever reason. Let's say it's a fitness goal, and they're super they're complaining all the time, and then someone tells them you can do this, this, and this to reach that goal, but they never do it, and they continue to complain. Is where that disconnect is, right? It's like, you want something and you're complaining that you don't have it, and you know what you can do to get that, but you don't want to do it. So then I think when you're in that fork in the road, either you can not let go of that goal, which is totally in your control, and that's great. You can live a great, happy life, never step foot in the gym. Health reasons is probably better for you too. But let's say you're very happy without doing that. That's fine. There's no reason for someone to be like, that's the worst way of living, never do that. But absolutely, you know what I mean? So I think it's based on person's goal. But if you're someone who has been complaining about a certain goal or thing that you want, but have never taken action, but you know what to do, I would encourage to do the dirty reps and just start. Yeah.
Totally agree with what you just said. Yeah. I agree with you. Like, if someone, it's not meant for everyone, right? Maybe not everybody's meant to be a successful billionaire or whatever. Maybe some people just prefer to live a simple life, and that's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
We're all different, and we're all entitled to live the way we want to. So yeah, that's really good that you just added that.
Yeah, I love that. Like, sometimes I'll go to like Mexico, and I'll see people who are living way lower means than what we're all taken for granted.
But so much happier, maybe.
But they're so much more happier. Yeah. Everyone's very, very happy, and they're living a simple life. They're partying with their friends, or the kids are just running around. And that is a way of living, and that is so like amazing. Like, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally agree with that.
Yeah.
I'm going to touch on another question here. When it comes to strength training, a lot of women aren't sure how much weight to lift. How can someone determine the right weight to use, and when should they increase it? Perfect.
I like this question, and I will answer it, since I've been doing very long answers for this one. This one I'll answer it pretty simply put, so that you can apply it right away. Whether you've ever lifted in your life, or whether you've never done so before, if you are wanting to start and you want to know your weight, you do this. You go to that exercise. Let's say it's let's say it's dumbbell curls to make things easy. You pick up a weight that's lighter than what you think maybe, and you choose a rep range that you will do. Let's say it's 12 to 15 reps, right? So anywhere, if you're trying to grow muscle, just choose a rep range between 8 to 30. Let's say you're not working with a coach, whatever. So let's say you choose 12 to 15. That's a pretty good sweet spot to start out. You're going to pick up your weight and you're going to try your reps. And this will only kind of make sense for the cameras, but if your reps and your face look like this the whole time, up to rep 1 for 15, and this is how it looks like. That, first of all, is an indication that you need to go heavier. So you go heavier, and it's a little bit challenging, but your first rep looks exactly the same as your 15th rep. That there is an indication. As long as your form is correct, and you're not going crazy like this, as long as your form is maintained, if there's no level of intensity, you will then be either maintaining the amount of muscle that you have or just going lower where you're just, you're moving. It's better than nothing, but you're not going to actually build on muscle and grow that. So the range and what you want to be aiming for is as you enter, let's say the 10th rep out of the 15, it's looking like your face is struggling. Now, I know a lot of girls at first might be averse to making an ugly gym face. I promise you, just make it because it'll give you gains and you can wear that dress and pop off.
There you go.
So your 10th rep out of the 15th should definitely start looking hard. Like you really want to be in that zone. Then it would be really hard for you to then get that 15th rep up. When you get that 15th rep up and it's pretty hard, that's when you know, hey, this is a pretty good spot. So you stick with that for that next set. You're going to do that same weight. Let's say it was 15 pounds. You're going to do that same 15 pounds for 15. Let's say you knock out 15 and the 15th rep is a full rep. That should be a ding, ding, ding. Let's increase the weight. So you're going to grab.
That makes
and
sense.
And Akio actually knows that very well. One of my clients, she also, I will always tell her and sometimes mentally you don't want to go there. You're like, no, this was hard. But it's from an outside view, this is why if you have a coach to look at you, or if you don't, you can film yourself at least once and just see how you look like. Because mentally, if you have not developed that skill of being comfortable with being super uncomfortable, because it is against humans' nature of wanting to, bodybuilding is very inefficient technically because you're putting yourself through pain deliberately by doing slow reps rather than being efficient and doing all this kind of stuff. So I would recommend to look at yourself and realize that, hey, mentally I was in war, but when I look at it, actually it didn't look as struggle. So I would say film yourself. If you don't want to film yourself, look at yourself in the mirror. Be more aware and challenge yourself. Jump up that weight a little bit so that you're back to that range of 12. Then you do 12, then you do 13. The next day you do 14. The next day you do 15. Okay, now you lift heavier. Stick with that weight. More reps, then you reach the top end, heavier. And you want to ideally be progressively overloading week over week. For certain lifts, maybe it's the same, but that's also where tracking comes really important, because if you're not tracking and you forget what your weight is, then you go by how you feel, which if you do that too much and you're just going based on motivation or, hey, I feel a little tired today, that's not as effective as tracking and going hey, you know what? Last week I did do 15 with 10. So I'm going to at least aim for that today. And even if I don't go higher, which is great, that's fine. At least I did what I did last week. And you want to at least maintain or keep trying to improve there. Yeah.
Awesome. This is some really good, valuable knowledge for you people out there, especially the women. You're getting some good gems here. I've got another question. So one common concern among women is that lifting weights will make them look bulky. Can you clear up this myth?
Yes. So I think widely known, it's I wish it was that easy, especially people in the bodybuilding world, to look bulky from lifting weights that quickly. It takes so much longer to naturally build on muscle. So with my body, I'm a natural competitor, but usually in the bodybuilding space, it's more common than not, especially in the higher levels, to not be natural. So instead of talking about the steroids world, which really helps with a lot of like enhancement drugs to gain lots of muscle growth faster, all this kind of stuff, naturally done, it takes years to build on muscle. And I feel like people underestimate just how long it takes. Even if you were doing super like progressively overloading, going like really doing the right things to build amount of muscle that women usually most commonly, they come and say, hey, I want to look toned, right? That's a commonly thrown around word. Women want to achieve that.
Yeah.
To achieve that toned look that a lot of women commonly want to get, you actually need to be training very, very hard. Because if you're not, then you achieve more of a skinny look, which is totally fine. And that's beautiful. But if your goal is to even look toned, the level of training and intensity that comes with building that type of muscle, maybe in 3 years, 2 years, you will see that type of significant change. But the look of being bulky is pretty hard to achieve. Mostly with just regular strength training and stuff, it'll be a lot of benefits to do with just generally feeling tighter, feeling stronger, better posture, just overall health, building those habits up as you get older also prevents a lot of injuries, health, things
That's
like
true,
that.
yeah.
That's an aspect that a lot of people just like kind of not, it's less common in social media world, for example. It's a lot of that, hey, shredded abs, big booty, this, that, whatever. And it's like, yeah, and that's fine to have a vanity goal like that, or like to get started because of that type of goal. But typically, once people get into it, they're like, oh, damn, like I actually like all the other benefits that come with it. Not only that long-term health investment, but also the fact that you are feeling better energy-wise. You're putting more into your business. You're more productive because when you're following a structured routine, it falls into other areas of your life. It's not just fitness. And that's also why I never intended to go all into fitness, but I did, was because it was trickling into all the other areas of my life that I wanted to just go all in personally. Yeah.
That's incredible. Really cool that you highlighted all the extra benefits, because it's true. Like if you're getting older and you work out, you feel good about yourself. You're also maintaining your muscle. Helps you live longer, I think. It helps you
It does, yeah. Absolutely.
escape diseases and cancer and stuff like that, right?
100%.
So yeah, that's incredible. Next question. There's always a debate between cardio and strength training for weight loss. In your opinion, which one is more effective, and how should they be balanced?
Yes. So everyone has a limited time in their day. A lot of people label themselves as more busy than someone who's saying I have all the time in the world, which is also a mindset thing. But let's say general population, typically they have their jobs, maybe their kids, maybe whatever, X, Y, and Z obligations. So given that you have a limited amount of time, in terms of effectiveness and fat loss, you could either A, go on a treadmill and sweat and run for 3 hours, and maybe you'll burn the equivalent of a couple donuts that you ate. Okay. Or you can spend 1 hour, 45 minutes to an hour, strength training. And then at the end of your workout, so that you're not losing muscle or like using too much energy in that cardio session. So you strength train first, and then at the end, doing like 15 minutes to 20 minutes of steady state cardio, meaning let's say if you're on a treadmill, instead of sprinting for 15 minutes, you're on a high incline and you're walking at like level 4 or 5. Another amazing one that's quite challenging, but it's great, is Stairmasters. Doing that for 8 to 10 to 15 minutes post-workout, or even just on a regular active rest day, is amazing for fat loss. Your muscles are metabolically active. The more muscles you have, the more muscles it will burn at rest. So if you think about that in your strength training, then even when you're sleeping, you're burning, right?
That's interesting.
Exactly, which is why huge jacked guys, they eat so much because they require that much more energy because their body's constantly burning more. So even if, let's say, a big bodybuilder man has this big of a plate, but he still looks jacked, although like at that point it's steroids and all that kind of stuff, but like just in comparison of how much your body's burning, because same thing, calories in, calories out, how much your body's burning because of all the muscle he has and how much it's just working when you're resting, you need to feed that with that much calories, right? To then either whatever, maintain or grow. So that's kind of a good balance in terms of cardio. Is you can do a lot of cardio, but there's way more effective ways to strength train and then pair it with cardio. I would recommend to pair cardio after you finish your workout instead of before, unless it's like a quick 3-4 minute warm up to get your joints moving and whatnot and your blood warm is what I'd recommend.
Oh, that was a great answer and very valuable knowledge. Next question. Nutrition plays a huge role in fitness results. What are some key dietary changes women can make to support weight loss and muscle toning?
So the first and main one that I will say is a non-restrictive one in the sense of something that's sustainable, something that's long-term, something that's not, hey, cut out all these things and look shredded, because you can achieve it based on that, but you want to do something that's first and foremost fits your lifestyle and your preferences. Now, just because I say that, it doesn't mean like, hey, you know, every chocolate and cake that I want, I'm going to eat at every second of every day. But it does mean that if you're someone who your stress levels are generally lower because you have a chocolate night, or like on weekends after brunch with the girls, you like going for bakery items, like absolutely keep that in. 110% keep that in. Never take that out. Just being mindful and having a good split. So unless you're doing a bodybuilding competition, if you're just doing it for general lifestyle, a good rule that I think it's said around a lot as well is like the 80-20 rule. So splitting your week up like that. So in terms of what you're eating, kind of like what I mentioned before, high protein, still getting in your carbs, and tracking your food can also help. You don't necessarily have to, but at least I encourage it for like the first week just to raise awareness instead of, because you'll be surprised at how many people, when they start tracking, they're like, oh, actually on a weekly average, daily average, I am way below my protein goal, or I'm way above my carb goal. I didn't know that. You know, there are so many clients that come after and they're like, wow, I actually didn't know this drink that I thought was a super healthy drink actually is loaded with sugar. And it's called liquid calories. You're drinking your calories away, right? So it's like, to you, you're like, no, I had a drink and this and that. Or I had this tiny muffin from Starbucks. It's like, yeah, but let's look at what's actually in that, right? And so, and you wonder why, you know, your energy levels are lower, this and that. So generally sticking that 80% with whole foods, eating like the least processed foods, like the rice, the potatoes, steak, whatever that food source is, for 80%, and then the 20% fun foods distributed here and there. Have your snack, have your whatever, have your fun meal. I usually like having my social fun meals with friends so that it's not just me just eating away. Like I can also kind of like knock two birds with one stone. It's like if my friends want to do something, I will also have a fun food with them and kind of use that as like okay, that's my cheat meal or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
you might feel bad if you're doing it alone, right? Is that a thing as well?
Potentially, but I think it's okay to still do it alone. I think that there shouldn't be shame around that at all. But I just like say like, hey, if I'm eating out, I might as well enjoy it with people. And I think I'm also someone who enjoys eating good food with good people. Like I like sharing, like I like being like, this is so good. And they're like, yeah, I agree. And I like seeing that. So personally, I enjoy it. So it's like, if I'm going to do it, I might as well do it with some, like a friend or whatever.
True.
But that being said, even if you do it alone, I think it's fine. I always look at Uber Eats at nighttime sometimes and I'm like, should I get noodles? Like, so I think it's totally fine. I just think as long as on a weekly average, you're doing an 80-20 rule. And if, for example, it's Thanksgiving and you eat a crap ton of gravy and whatever, and you have fun, and then the next day you're like, oh my gosh, I ate so much that dinner, I'm going to starve myself and do so much cardio, to get rid of that mindset. Because the human body is amazing and it is not as robotic as, hey, I messed up one night, I need to make up for it the next day and starve myself. No. You did that, guess what? If you step on the scale, you're going to be maybe 4 pounds, 5 pounds higher, but that is water weight. You cannot physically gain fat from your Thanksgiving dinner last night and look at the scale and be like, oh my gosh, I gained 5 pounds. No, because that's the sodium that you're holding, it's water weight. Once you drink a lot of water throughout the day, even when you go on an airplane, like your flight, right? Your water weight changes, right? So you'll go on a scale the next day. So it fluctuates. That's why it's always good to look at a weekly average for your weight. Weekly average, it'll fluctuate here and there because of water weight. Also with women, with periods, hormonal levels. Like if you do an intense leg workout, you're holding on to a lot more water. So that moves the scales, which is why body composition is more of a better indicator of how you're progressing in terms of like progress photos, looking at that versus fixating too much on the scale day by day.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Whoa, I'm learning a lot today, honestly. Okay, let me give you another one. Hormones can have a big impact on energy levels and performance. How do hormonal fluctuations during the menstrual cycle affect training? And should women adjust their workouts accordingly?
So this one I answer more simply than I could go into complicating all the hormonal levels and things like that, is that I think that there's a lot of information out there in terms of training during different cycles of your hormonal levels, of your period cycle, all this kind of stuff. And I think it really comes down to the person. Me in particular, and a lot of other females that I know, I train just as hard, if not harder, the same amount when I'm on my period. And it's fine with me personally because I never felt any negative effects with it. So I continue doing it. The only time that I wouldn't is, let's say, sometimes when I am on my period and I have lower energy levels in general, feeling a little bit fatigued, maybe I have cramps, and I go in for a workout, I won't push myself to that level of intensity that day, for sure. So I'll kind of like gauge and back off a little bit and give myself that grace to just kind of take it easy, get that blood flowing. And typically after I finish a workout, and this is also very common as well, you actually feel better after the workout. So that's kind of how I go about my personal workouts. With other people though, some people have a very different type of reaction to like right before their period, during or after and whatnot. And so during the time, sometimes during that whole week, they'll kind of just go easier on their workouts, which is fine. And then just go back to it right after they're done. Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
I actually have something to add in there, just from a herbalist perspective, like something that's good for the female when she's on her period. It's called shatavari.
Okay.
And it's also from India. It's been around for thousands of years. It's kind of like the female version to ashwagandha. So ashwagandha is more like, I guess, works best for men. And the shatavari is like the female version to that. So it works very good for women. So when they're in their menstrual cycles, it'll balance everything out and help you get through that.
So is it, you do it, is there a specific time during your cycle that certain, at least phase during your cycle, or is it just generally when you're actually on your period?
I would have to look into that more, but generally speaking, I think you could probably take it all the time just to keep your hormones balanced, but at a small dose.
Interesting.
And then when it gets around the period time, you could just up the dose a little bit, and it'll help you get through that.
That's cool.
Week or so, yeah.
Where can you get that?
That's a good question.
Or you would just search it online. I'm sure there's.
Yeah, you can search it online, but I have my company, Global Citizen Herbs, and soon everybody can get it from me.
You heard it.
Yeah, you heard it first right here, Global Citizen Herbs. And actually, this, just to take a little thing here, this is called Mugwort Botanicals. It's a brand from a herbalist herself, and she makes these blends right here in Vancouver. It's all organic, and it's Mugwort Botanicals on Instagram. So you guys can check that out. I got this from the Japanese market. I believe she's Japanese. And yeah, she makes some really good blends. So
let's say someone has no tea in their cabinets and they're just a baby. What would you recommend to be like the 3 teas they should pick up to just have in their cabinets?
like the most common ones that they can probably get at
Or it can be common, it can be uncommon, just something that you think are like 3 staple teas to just have in your cabinet as their first purchase.
I'd have to go with chamomile.
Okay.
Okay, because it relaxes you, it helps you sleep. It kind of, if you need to relax, it'll help you do that. And you can get it at many places. You know, it's very widely available. Second one, I'd have to go with ashwagandha, just because it's a herb that's gotten me through a stressful time, and many people I know, it's worked very good for them. And so that's definitely something you should have. And it's not only for stress, it's called an adaptogen. So adaptogen herbs, they adapt to what your body needs, which is incredible. So if you have low blood sugar, it'll raise it up. If you need rest, if you are tired, you need to sleep, it'll help you sleep. If you need energy, it'll give you an energy boost. So it's a herb that works in mysterious ways almost.
That's cool.
You know, it really adapts to what your body needs. It's very interesting. Yeah.
So ashwagandha, chamomile.
Yeah, ashwagandha, chamomile. Number 3. Ooh. What could be number 3?
Peppermint? Or like a black tea for caffeine? Like,
no, I'm like a strictly herbalist, like herbal teas.
okay.
So I don't even really do the black teas
Right,
and green
right,
teas
right,
and stuff
okay.
just because of the caffeine and stuff.
Right.
But okay, number 3, I'll probably go with mint.
Mint.
Because mint is mint, you know, like it's good for digestion. You know, it helps you relax as well. It's good after a meal.
I've heard a lot of good stuff about mint. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so common, right? And
Yeah.
it smells good, and it's got a lot of benefits. So yeah,
Okay.
probably go with those
Mint,
3.
chamomile, ashwagandha. Yeah. I took ashwagandha every day during my prep as well.
Oh, you did
Yeah,
too?
but it wasn't
Okay.
through tea. It was like pill form.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think that doing teas would be nice, actually, switching it up.
Yeah, like I had a herbalist kind of like mentor almost, which was like 30 years in the field from Europe. And she had taught me about the ashwagandha like on a deeper level.
Okay.
So the pills have a very, very, very small dose, right? So it's like
That would make
0.1
sense.
or something. So for you to get the amount to actually do something, you'd have to take like half the bottle, you know? But
Interesting.
it's still good. Like, I mean, if you wanted just a very small dose for the rest of your life, you could take that every day. I guess it'll make some sort of little
teas
balancing
are a lot
difference.
more concentrated.
Yeah. Well, some pills, it depends, right? Like, that's why herbs is very complicated. But specifically ashwagandha, you're not going to get much in those pills. So it's best to actually just drink the tea, or probably the tea is best, yeah.
So for like 2 cups a night, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
how much would you recommend to like boil?
So this also depends. So dosages depends on what you need, right?
Okay.
So if it's just maintenance, if you just want
Yeah,
to
just
have a healthy lifestyle, I'd say like 2 grams,
okay.
2 to 5 grams a day.
Let's say someone who's going through a really tough time.
If you got like anxiety and you're going through a stressful time, maybe you started a new job or something and you need help going through that, 20 grams per day.
Wow, so 2 or 20.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and the thing is this, like all of our bodies are different, right?
Right, yeah.
I mean, you know this, you're in the fitness
Of
world, so
course.
everybody's got different ways their
Yes,
body
yes.
works. So it's the same with herbs. I recommend starting at a low dose and then work your way up. So if you start with 2 grams and you don't feel anything, you don't feel like it makes any difference, okay, go to 3 tomorrow. And keep going until, okay, now I'm starting to feel something. This is probably my dose.
Yeah, I love the way they answered that, because that's like, I feel like that applies for everything. It's like there's so many marketing tactics in the fitness industry to say, use this secret thing. Everyone use this and buy my thing for $79.99.
Yeah.
But which is a very, very cookie cutter approach, which for marketing to Gen Pop, it works a lot of the times, but it's not actually effective. So same thing of like me, who is not really well versed in like herbs and things like that, like me saying like, hey, what is the one answer, and you saying, well, it depends. And no one finds it depends as an attractive answer, but it's the right answer. And I say that for so many things. When someone asks me a question who's new to the gym or nutrition or whatever, my answer is always, hey, it depends because this and this. And I can give you the basics and I can give you the average answer, like the borderline standards, but for each person it's so different.
Yeah. And that's the real answer. The thing is, people want everything easy, right? They want like, okay, what can I do? And there's just one pill that fixes all your problems. And it's the same thing with herbs. And the thing is, like, pharmaceuticals work because they're very concentrated, but they also have a lot of side effects, right? And they can, I mean, like, I'm not taking anything away from pharmaceuticals, but just to get back to the herbs, it's like it takes a lot longer because it's natural.
Yeah.
And you're getting it usually in smaller doses, right? So herbs just take maybe like, if you're taking it all your life or something, it's kind of like a lifestyle choice. And it helps you with your health. Or like 6 months consistently.
That's cool. Yeah. Good to know.
So that's the thing about it. But it will make a difference. Absolutely.
In a very natural way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I got another question for you. I got about 2 more.
Okay.
2 or 3. Yeah, maybe 2 more. So staying motivated is one of the biggest struggles when it comes to fitness. What are some of your top tips for staying consistent and making exercises a long-term habit?
I will say 2 things on this. One, if you over romanticize motivation too much, it will be hard to stay consistent, because when that fire dies down, which it will at times, because sometimes your mindset is not as rah, 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 and no one's rah, rah, rah all year round.
True.
Unless you're whoever, Andrew Tate. So when it dies down, if that's what you're relying solely on, you're not going to be consistent. So rather than putting too much on how do I keep motivated, kind of more so understand what boxes need to be checked. And first, like, ask yourself, hey, is my health, my routine a priority? And then you just do it, and you don't put that expectation of like, I have to be so fired up. Because sometimes you're not fired up, and when you're not and you still do it anyways, let's say specific to working out, typically after you feel fired up, you feel productive. Like, so many people after they finish their workout, like clients are like, man, like I'm ready to, take on the day, this and that. Whereas before they'll walk into it kind of dragging themselves there. So I would say, understand the boxes you need to check and do it, because it's nothing special. It's nothing whatever. It's doing it and just checking the boxes and going about it that way. Now, one side note that I will add to that is, like, in terms of the topic of motivation, I think it's great to keep updating your goals and revisiting them and then doing your whys. So a goal is a goal, but sometimes people will have a bunch of goals and they actually don't know why they want to have a goal. And that's when you can kind of like dig deeper into that. And you can also find out a bunch of stuff about yourself, because sometimes people will have certain goals and they'll be like, that's my goal. But no one asks them why. Why is that your goal, right? Like, why do you want to look that way? Or why is it just this that you want? Or why is it this and that? And they're like, you're right. Like, maybe it's something more than actually wanting that goal. Maybe something deeper than that, that potentially you want to unpack.
That's interesting, yeah.
So like, having a why behind your goal will also help you have a little longer fire as well, because it's not just about like chasing a goal, because you'll feel like you're kind of on a like a rat race, like maybe like you're like aimlessly aiming at something and you're working so hard, but you're like, what am I really aiming for? So when your end goal is more like a long-term vision, something that's more like, I'm doing this for like my like future life, my this and that, like let's say whatever like that is, like that might also help to kind of like refocus and realign your vision, and then get yourself to do it when you don't feel like it on the days, rather than just going like, I'm gonna go because I feel great today, and then for a week you don't feel great, so you don't go.
Okay,
so
love it.
Take the power away from motivation and just be consistent.
Very good answer. Man. Okay, I got 2 more. We have like 1 more and then a bonus question.
Okay.
Many women want to focus on toning specific areas like their core or glutes. What are some of the best exercises to target those areas effectively?
Core, treat it like any other muscle. And I'm guilty of not doing that. When I first started out, I was doing a lot of those like pretty like a little ab twists and this and that.
Can I ask you, where did you like learn those at the time when you started going and you're like the little ab twists or whatever? Where did you see those first?
YouTube.
On YouTube, okay.
YouTube or Instagram or whatever. Like there's a lot of videos out there, like 15-minute like at home ab workout.
Right.
Now, I really want to emphasize that is not bad. That is great. And I think if you enjoy it and you enjoy only doing Pilates or this and that, I think that's like amazing. And I think there's so many other things that have like Muay Thai. I love Muay Thai, but that's not really relevant to muscle building and this kind of thing. It's more like it's good for like cardio. It's strength, whatever. Like I love it, and that's a separate hobby. But if you want to have a nice core, and let's say you like get your nutrition right and you want to have nice toned stomach, you treat it like any other muscle. 3 sets, 12 to 15 reps, weighted ab stuff. And you will not come out looking like I don't know, an imagery of some like a jacked whatever. But basically weighted ab crunches. Get a tricep rope cable, put it around mid height, grab onto it over your head, kneel down on the ground and crunch in and do those crunches. Allow the full stretch, right? So you want to stretch your abs completely and crunch in and dig your elbows into your hips rather than just leaning forward to really crunch it fully. Do around 12 to 15 of those. Another really great one is decline crunch. So there's benches that are like on a decline instead of an incline, and you can kind of hook your legs on the little pads there.
Those are the ones that you can do the ab workouts, right? You just pull yourself up, right?
Yeah. So the crunches that way, that's very challenging, especially since the weight is your body weight as well, like half of your body weight.
Even I'm having trouble with those. So
me too. I have so much trouble with that with no weight. It's hard.
Yeah.
Right. So treat it like that. Challenge yourself. 12 to 15 reps, 3 sets. Okay. Like that. And then lastly, you will not see your abs until you do something in the kitchen. Your abs are always there. If you're strength training, you have abs. You have a nice core. You have that 6-pack. Now, having a year-round 6-pack, it's a different story. But let's say you want to see them, you just got to get your nutrition down. That's that's key. Like being in a caloric deficit, cutting your body fat percentage. You cannot spot cut, meaning I just want to lose my like little flabby arms. Like I want to specifically lose that. It's like, no, you lose overall weight, and therefore you will then shred your stomach, look nice, all that kind of stuff. Now, the second one was glutes. So for glutes, if you want to grow them, you do a combination of compound and isolation exercises. You don't just do the glute cable kickbacks. So the glute cable kickbacks meaning like you have a cable on your ankle and you kick back. That's a popular female exercise for your glutes because it's a nice shaper for your glute muscles, and it targets isolation muscles. Like your glute muscles are 3 muscles, like the glute max, the big part, the glute medius, kind of like, if you want to put it in simple terms, it's like the top, and then the glute minimus, right? The glute max is the biggest part of your glute muscles. Okay. So the glute kickbacks, depending on how you do them, they might target the glute medius, right? The top, which is not really commonly targeted like that. But if you do only glute cable kickbacks and your starting point is like you have no glutes, you cannot grow size. You will just maybe shape it a tiny bit more, but you're not working with much. So you do mainly the basics, the compound lifts, the split squats, right? The squats, the leg press. And there's also different ways to perform large compound movements, but try not to stray away from them. So you do the basics and you go heavy and you push hard, and then you pair that with the nice isolation exercises, like the kickbacks, like the hip abductions, and you also go heavy on them instead of thinking, hey, this is isolation exercise, so I'm going to go super light. So treat it all generally the same. Have a good mix. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
I heard you mention some Muay Thai in there. So
Yes.
you do Muay Thai sometimes?
Very much as a hobby.
Okay.
I love it. What was my first experience in it? It was when I used to live in downtown. I'm very like open to new like things, like especially if it has to do with like, oh, try out this class or whatever. I'll do everything once. I have no like food too. Like even if it looks very like suspect, I will still eat it. Especially,
I think this is huge. Also, like we have one life, right? And the world is so big. There's so much to explore. So that's a great way to live.
100%. Absolutely. Like, yeah. And I'm Korean. There's a lot of Korean dishes that look scary, but they taste amazing.
Korean food
so I
is
think
so good.
just growing up with that, I'm also more open to trying different cuisines than things that might look a little jarring to some. I'm very open in that sense. So I was in downtown, then I think it was an ad or something. It was like a 1-month free trial at Lions MMA, Granville Street, whatever. So I did that, and I went by myself and I tried out the Muay Thai class. I was like, never done it before. and it was so much fun. I loved it so much. I had the best time ever. It was amazing. It was different. Like I felt so powered. Like I would lift for like an hour and a half, and then right after I would go to Muay Thai, and I was just like go mode. Like it was great, and I loved it. I stopped for a year because I was doing a bodybuilding competition. So I just didn't want to like interfere with like the different energy and cardio levels because it's very limited in that aspect.
Yeah.
But like as soon as I was done, bam, I went there. Like
wow.
If I like, I actually want to go to Thailand and go to like the Muay Thai gyms there and like spend some time there as well. Like
That's
I
awesome.
enjoy it so much, and it's one of those things that outside of the gym, like I would, if I could, make time for it, I would do it every day. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Because I was asking because I also did some Muay Thai, just like some intro classes and stuff like that when I was in
Nice.
Richmond.
Oh yeah.
There's,
Which gym?
What's her name again?
There's a lot,
Serena.
Okay.
Serena and so sorry, I forgot your name right now. But anyway, Serena and her partner, they own the gym,
Okay.
and it's
There's a lot
right
in
on
Richmond.
6th. Yeah, like on 6th
Okay.
and like Canby kind of. Fry's Fight Team. Yeah, that's what it's called.
With pads, so the big pads, or
Yeah.
like the sparring style.
They do both. Like, I mean, I did some sparring style
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
and we also did like some regular exercises, and
Yeah.
it
No,
was
it's
just-
so much fun.
It was amazing. Like, I had so much fun. Shout out to Fry's Fight Team.
Yes.
If anybody's
I'll
in
check it out.
Richmond, yeah, go and check that out too. Like, if you're in Richmond or whatever.
Yeah.
But they're an amazing gym. Very like, it feels like a home. You know, it feels like a family.
Yeah,
It's one of those
that's
gyms.
what I felt too there, like
Yeah.
at the Lions MMA as well. I think it's just the sport. I think it
Probably,
attracts
yeah.
a certain type of people, and like just doing it, like everyone's just so like everyone's just so down to earth. They're just like here to have fun, like, and that's what I love. That's also why I love salsa.
Yeah.
Because the people that do it and that go there, there's no mistakes. You just do there. You're there to have fun, and yeah, I love it. One thing in salsa, like as a follower, which is completely different than Muay Thai, because Muay Thai and lifting is similar in the sense where the breathing is so important. The ch, right? Every punch, it's like ch, right? You're leading with the hips. It's very like, it's flow, but it's also very rigid.
Yeah.
Whereas something like dancing and salsa, like you have to really like loosen up. And when I first did salsa, I was so like tight
Tense,
and
yeah,
rigid.
yeah.
And it's funny because I was my brain and the way my body moved, because of all the years of just biasing, working out and Muay Thai and things like that, I was so like, I was looking at my feet and I was like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. I was like calculating with math, like the exact steps, and that's no way to do it. And one of
feel the music.
No, and one of the people there that was like an expert at salsa dancing, he told me, he's like, as a follow, you don't take the 2 years to learn how to dance, you learn how to follow. The lead is leading you. You have to let the lead lead you. And if you're trying to control things, it will never go. You have to let them lead you, right? And it comes from like, they will hold your like back, your sternum, right? They will lead you where they want to go, right? So if I'm looking down at my feet and I'm going 1, 2, 3, where am I going next? It's never going to work. And it was so stiff in the beginning. I was like, oh my gosh, I look like a mess. I was like, I'm so glad no one's here or filming me or whatever.
Yeah.
But as soon as I started learning, like, oh, okay, like it was such a, like, I felt so good because it was so different than like how I operate a lot of the times in like my day to day or like at work or when I'm working out. I'm very like into it, very intense, you know, very this and that. Like I'm in control of it. But then there, I was like, that is the one place I'm at salsa for an hour, and I am the most present I've ever been in my life.
Oh wow.
I don't think of anything else when I'm like, and that feeling that I never got from anything else. And I was like, that is what I'm there for. Like I'm there, and I love it so much. I love like just allowing that. And it's kind of interesting where my headspace is at, because in that day, if I'm in like a little bit of a blockage headspace and I go into that salsa class, I can feel it at first. I'm in my head. And then I have to kind of like let myself, like let my heart, soul, like whatever, and just like kind of like get out of my head And then that's when they even the lead feels it. Like they feel that I'm easier to like lead and things like that. Like that's why I love it so much. And also the music and things like that is fun.
I love that. I love the perspective that you just gave.
It's very different. Like salsa and being in that flow, like feminine state feels so nice and different than like the other stuff that sometimes I do where I have to be more like initiative and this and that. Like it's so nice to just relax.
That's amazing. So you like salsa? How long have you been doing salsa for?
Not long, like 2 years. Yeah, but not consistently. Like I first did it when I went to Colombia. That was my first experience ever doing it there. Colombia, Cali is the city of salsa. They do it everywhere. It's the whole art. So that's where I first did it. And then I came back and I started doing it here locally. And then now like Friday nights I would just go sometimes to salsa socials and like it's great.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sounds like you have a very interesting life where you do a lot of different types of activities and you're open-minded and you like to try things like you said earlier.
Yeah.
That's good. Good way to live. I love it. Okay, I'll head to the last question here. So, life can get really busy and sometimes fitness takes a back seat. What advice do you have for women who are trying to balance their fitness goals with a hectic schedule?
I would say, because yes, you hear this thrown around a lot, especially on social media, where a lot of quote unquote fitness influencers will say, we all have the same 24 hours, like do it. How helpful is that though, right? Because a 22-year-old who has no kids, no job, no whatever, parents pay for their rent, is different time schedule than a mom with 3 kids, a job, and whatever, right? It's different. So no, not everyone has the exact same day-to-day 24 hours. So when you are busy, I would say, first of all, try to see like what's realistic for you. And if that's not 5 times a week, that's okay. If it's 3 times a week or 2 times a week, that's fine. At least start there maybe. And maybe later you realize, hey, you can add 1 here and there. So if it's only 2 times a week, then I would recommend to do full body workouts instead of doing like a specific muscle group. Because if you're only doing it 2 times a week, then there's enough rest in between where you can fatigue your whole body. So I would say do full body workouts on the 2 days. So it's okay if you can only go 2 times a week. You just do full body strength training and that should be good. And then in terms of, let's say life gets busy, you were traveling, then you had work, then you had kids, this, that. And so you took like 7 months off or you had an injury or whatever the case is, and you got really busy and for a year you didn't go. Then if that's the case and you find that little gap to go, I think it's much harder to go when you've stopped versus to go while you're going. It's hard either way for some people, but it's harder to start that when you haven't gone for so long. And that's comfortable because you're introducing a change, and change is stressful. Change is stressful in your schedule. When you have such you filled up all your time and you're so busy without a gym in there, and now you have to add a gym onto your busy schedule. That's not something people want to initiate. They're kind of like want to delay.
For sure, yeah.
So if that's the case, make it as easy for you in the sense of don't pressure yourself to need to do a full hour. Don't tell yourself, then I have to get a gym membership. I have to buy this. I have to, do like, when do I have time for all that? I don't. Then they don't do it. So instead of that, like, just get moving first. Maybe that's a run. Maybe that's going to your nearby community center while your kids are doing this, and then stopping by for 20, 30 minutes. And that's good. At least you're moving there, right? And then you kind of introduce it slowly, and then you'll kind of start to shift your priorities and your schedule and time around to do it that fits your lifestyle. So squeezing in those things, getting just general activity higher is also good. So if you're working and you could like walk to the coffee shop to get a coffee versus take your car, just walk there if you have time, that kind of thing, if you're really, really busy. And I would say mentally it might be hard to get started again if you've stopped, but to just lower the barrier to entry and just don't give yourself too much pressure to need it to look a certain way. Just get started and then grow from there. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Amazing. So those are some great answers, some good value. I appreciate that. And I know the people watching do as well. So where do you see yourself like in the next like maybe 5 years or so? Do you have a big goal, something big you're working on?
So in the next 5 years, I see myself having a team. I want to build like a community. I want to have a strong mission statement. I want to have it be a little bit more all-encompassing than just the fitness. Like, I think I want to speak to who I needed when I was younger. Be that role model, be that community where people can easily access. So maybe the first entry in terms of content creation, I want to get more into making that more digestible and accessible and for like as many people as I can. And putting out good, like useful advice and things like that out there versus something that's perhaps more marketing-ish. And then building that up, having a team, just doing fun stuff, you know, like I've always wanted to host a retreat. Like I want to do that sort of stuff and like maybe grab like the woman that's on my team and like a lot of other people, just like-minded individuals, and do like a nice Airbnb retreat or whatever. Just give back also. Like that would be like more like the larger visions. I do really want to create some sort of community, and I've always dabbled in little things. Like I have ideas here and there that I've had in my drive like a couple years back, but I haven't
Get those dirty reps in, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So I do still think that it's necessary for me to do like walk the walk before I go into like the huge big one. So I'm gonna do my thing, build my own coaching and my own thing, and then grow from there. Then get a team and educate and make it a whole thing. That's the goal.
I love that. I think it's all going to happen. I mean, you're very knowledgeable. You're amazing at what you do. And you put the work in, right? So you have the ideas. You've gotten this far already. I see you going all the way to the end.
Thank you.
Right to the goal. I see it all
that.
happening, for real.
Nice.
I think that you have what it takes. You know, not everybody has it, honestly. You know what I mean? I think anybody can do the things that they put their mind to if they really work on something. But people have different kinds of energies too, right? So, but yeah, you got it. And I think you're going to accomplish everything that you
so much.
just
this
said.
is a pleasure.
Yeah, no, you will. And for everybody out there, all the females who want to get in shape, Resina, where can they find you? Like, where are you active on?
So Instagram is the main one, at Resina Fit, ResinaFit.
Resina Fit. And she's going to make you fit. Yeah, so what else? So in 5 years, you kind of see yourself doing all that. What's the biggest lesson do you think that you've learned over the journey from when you started doing fitness to now? Like you've learned a lot, I'm sure, right? You've gone through a lot of things. What is the biggest takeaway for you?
From my fitness journey?
Yeah.
Oh, biggest takeaway.
Or one of, right? I don't want to put too much. That's a hard question, right? But something that you think is valuable that you learned, you know?
Oh, I would say what you invest in for yourself. And this doesn't have to be investing in like a certain course or a certain thing, like investing in yourself as in what you do for yourself. Let's say doing the daily tasks or who you allow yourself to hang out with. All is a direct translation to what you think your self-worth is.
Oh, that's deep.
If you hate your environment and you hate the people that you talk to on a day-to-day basis, it probably means you don't think you deserve better because you created that environment. It sucks, but it's true. So, like, for example, high school, I partied so much. I drank so much. I studied a lot too. Like, I prioritized school, sure. I was stressed out of my mind.
You're lucky you did that, though.
But like, yeah, like, but certain experiences that I went through was a reflection of what I thought I deserved at the time, but I didn't realize that it was internal. I complained or or even I wasn't even complaining. I didn't even realize what I was doing was wrong, and I didn't realize that my environment was bad at the time. I was just doing things that were not ideal for me, and I felt crappy. But I didn't realize how much it was a direct translation of what I thought I deserved.
Yeah.
Of how I communicate to other people, of how I let other people communicate to me, and what I was attracting at the time was directly like, I was like, yeah, I had very low self-worth, very low self-confidence. I had very, like, I didn't think that I was worthy of an opinion, basically, from upbringing, whatever. Sure, I can label it on this, and this that happened in my childhood, all that kind of stuff, which it does root down to that.
It's all valid though, right?
Yeah. And so that's what I would say. I would say that. So I would say if you are in a position where you feel like you have some bad experiences, or you feel like you're drained from the people that you're around, I would say that rather than blaming them for how they're treating you, it's very case by case. I don't want to speak too broadly about that, but I would say first try to go internally and see, maybe you just gotta give yourself some more grace, give yourself some more time to like think through how you see yourself and what you genuinely want to deserve. Like, because you deserve it, period. Everyone deserves it, right? It's just a matter of like, sometimes you need to borrow that belief from somebody else. Like somebody else might tell you like, you deserve it. Like, I see that in you, right? But then they might not believe it. And sometimes you need to borrow somebody else's belief in you and be like, okay, I'm going to do it. So continue to like, and this is something I try to do with myself all the time as well, but it's like, continue to see like, okay, what is your position right now? Let's see why that might be, and let's improve it, and like go from there. And that can be through fitness, that can be through different stuff, like that can be through different opportunities, and you will never know unless you put yourself out there. So yeah.
Deep.
I almost didn't have an answer for that one, and then I was like thinking, and I'm like, oh, actually that's the one, because that was largely how it trickled in for my life. Yeah.
That's really good that you were able to realize that sooner than later, right?
Yeah.
Some people, they only realize this kind of thing and it gets too late. You know, you can end up, 30, 40, 50 and be like, oh, wow. Now I realize it was all like the power was within me, what I believe in myself. I should have changed the people who were around me. I should have whatever, right? Like, so it's good that at a young age you're able to realize that. And I love this conversation. I love this topic as well, because life is really what you make it, I think, and we underestimate the power of the mind sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Right? But really what we believe we can achieve. And I really absolutely believe that.
Yeah.
And if you want to change your environment, you have full control of that.
100%. Yeah.
So great. That's all I can say. I mean,
amazing.
No words, honestly. Really cool. Really good information.
Nice. I'm glad.
You're a very humble person. You're hardworking. And I wish that you get everything that you want in life.
You as well. I appreciate it.
I appreciate that. So that's what it is. Let's wrap it up. Great combo with Resina here. And we'll see more of her for sure. If you guys need to reach out to her. And that's what it is.
And follow Tea with G.
Tea with G coming soon.
More to come.
Peace.
Bye.